Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opatz. Thank you so much for spending some of your time here with me today. We are finishing off our rankings for the week. We are going over our tight ends and our defenses. We're going to look at matchups and try to project and see who we want to put in our starting lineups to make sure you guys have the most dominant team possible. And without further ado, let's start breaking down our tight ends. In the top spot, who else could it be but Travis Kelce? He gets the Chargers this week. Now, the Chargers struggle a little bit against tight ends. He is going to crush it. So far this year, he already has 3 touchdowns, 185 yards, 13 receptions on 15 targets. He will continue that against the Chargers. At number 2, we have one of my favorite players, and that is Darren Waller, the baller. He is at home against Miami this week. He is coming in with a 28.6% target share, already has 170 yards and a touchdown on this year. I love the matchup against Miami. He is a stud. At number 3, we have a guy who is quickly climbing into that elite TE category, and that is TJ Hawkinson. He gets Baltimore this week. The Ravens haven't been able to stop anyone through the air, so I think TJ Hawkinson continues to produce. He carries a 21.5 target share into this game. The only 2 tight ends ahead of him so far this season are going to be the 2 guys in front of him on this list in Waller and Kelce. It may not be 2017, but don't tell that to our number 4 player, Rob Gronkowski, looking like he's back in time. He's been absolutely stellar on the season. He gets a Los Angeles Rams team that has struggled a little bit against tight ends. He is currently the tight end 1 because of his 4 touchdowns. Now that's going to taper off some, but that's okay because Gronk still has 129 yards receiving, and he's still going to continue to produce. We have George Kittle slotting in to round out the top 5. Now, he's definitely fallen a little bit and hasn't produced to where we were hoping he would when we drafted him high, but now he gets Green Bay. They've given up 7 touchdown passes through the air, and I expect a bounce back game from Kittle. He hasn't been horrible. He still has 95 yards on the season on 9 targets, but I think a bigger game could be in line for him in week 3 against Green Bay. At 6, we have Mark Andrews. Now, he gets an absolutely excellent matchup against Detroit, and you really hope and you pray this has to be the game for him, guys, because he's coming into this one as the TE22. He has failed to produce based on what we were hoping when we came into this season. I think this is the game, and if it's not, we might have to start to worry, but don't do that just yet. Let's give him 1 more week to see if he can make it happen. We slide in Noah Fant here at number 7. He gets the Jets this week, so you don't hate that matchup, and he's been productive as a safety valve for Teddy Two Gloves. I think he continue to do that, and he's going to be a solid lower end tight end 1 for you guys. Kyle Pitts gets the Giants and slots in for us at number 8. He showed life after a really rough week 1 and produced for managers in week 2. I am hoping and thinking that he's going to carry that momentum on against a Giants defense that is giving up the 4th most points to tight ends in fantasy football. Pitts is averaging 7 targets and 52 yards a game, so you love to see the production he's already had, and I think that continues in this game. At number 9, we have a guy that I loved early on. He hasn't quite produced like we wanted him to, but that should change in the coming weeks, and that is Logan Thomas. He goes on the road against Buffalo, which is a tough matchup for sure. Now, Thomas is only averaging 5 targets a game. You don't love that, but he is running 35 routes a game, right around the mark that Travis Kelce is, and you think that eventually being utilized so much out of the slot as he has been will lead to that production. We have Tyler Higbee at 10, rounding it out. He has a pretty good matchup against the Buccaneers. So far in the year, 6 receptions on 7 targets for 76 yards. He had a rough matchup last week and did not produce against the Colts. We're hoping that he rebounds here. Dallas Goedert slides in at number 11 and has an awesome matchup against Dallas. Now, right now, Zach Ertz is questionable, and this is a Monday night game, so we're not going to be able to really know or swap out our lineups if Ertz is going to be out. Now, I do like Goddard a lot more if Ertz ends up missing time. However, without knowing, we do slide him down a little bit more, which is why I have him at 11 against the Cowboys. Rounding out our tight end ones, at number 12 is Jared Cook. He gets Kansas City this week, another excellent matchup. Now, Cook has 84 yards in 2 weeks. He did have a touchdown called back in week 2, so his production could have looked even better, but I like the opportunity for points in this game, and that's why I have him on the low end for tight end ones. At number 13, we have Robert Tonyan. He goes on the road to San Francisco. He did give us a little bit of hope after a tough week 1. He produced against the Lions, and I'm looking for him to continue that trend. We know there is upside in the Green Bay Packers offense. And then tied for 14th, I have the tight ends out of New England, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They get New Orleans at home. Now, the split here is 14.9% target share for Jonnu Smith, just 10% for Hunter Henry. So that makes me lean towards Smith. I don't love either of them, but it's not worst case scenario if you have to throw in one of these guys this week. Some notable omissions. We have Gerald Everett against Minnesota. Did not look good last week against the Titans. Cole Kmet against the Cleveland Browns. Same issue with him. And then we have the combination of Austin Hooper and David Njoku going against Chicago. I am holding off on all of these guys. If you guys are new to the channel, if you haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, please drop those down below. And let's get into the defenses for this week. Number 1 start of the week for defense is going to be the Carolina Panthers going on the road against the Houston Texans. This one is pretty easy, guys. Carolina, the overall number 1 defense in the NFL. They get a Houston team who just lost Tyrod Taylor. They are trotting in their 3rd round quarterback, David Mills, still a rookie, and he has not yet gotten his feet wet. He looked pretty bad last week, and this one could get ugly quick. I love the Panthers to pound and crush in week 3. Our second team in our defensive rankings is going to be the Denver Broncos. They're at home against the Jets. And following Zach Wilson's 4 interception performance, you know Vic Fangio cannot wait to get some schemes that are going to confuse this offense. Now, Wilson is probably not going to be as bad as he was last week, but he doesn't have to be for Denver to hit in this game. Our 3rd spot goes to the New England Patriots. They get New Orleans, and I would just say ditto to Bill Belichick. He gets to work his magic against an offense from the Saints that just really struggled to get anything going. They looked out of sorts last week, and you know that Bill is going to have something up his sleeve. 2 games, 2 different looks for our number 4 team, the Arizona Cardinals. They looked absolutely spectacular in their dominating performance in week 1 over the Titans. They gave up 30 plus to my Minnesota Vikings last week. I think the former is what we're looking for in this week as they play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have really struggled on the offensive side of the ball. Chandler Jones was dominant against the Titans with 5 sacks. I think it's going to be closer to that, and they have looked really good with that addition of J.J. Watt. A team I know I like a lot more than consensus that slides into our top 5 is the Las Vegas Raiders getting Miami, and that is because I do not believe Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to threaten and move the ball down the field. I think that Vegas can stay on him, force turnovers, and make it a really long day for Dolphins fans. In our number 6 spot is the Baltimore Ravens. They travel to Detroit. Detroit certainly doesn't scare you, and Baltimore was able to force 2 turnovers against Kansas City. The other bonus here is Jared Goff, who's already have 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles on the year. You hope that's enough to help Baltimore produce in this game. At number 7, we have the Steelers at home in Heinz Field against Cincinnati. Now, potentially losing TJ Watt certainly hurts, but this Steelers defense has studs at every single level, and especially after how Cincinnati looked struggling offensively against the Bears last week, I think Pittsburgh can hit and be fine. Another AFC North team, we're putting the Cleveland Browns here at number 8. They get Chicago. Now, I'll be the first to admit this one could blow up in my face if Fields settles in early and looks good. However, Chicago has scored just 34 points total in their first 2 weeks, and last week the Browns were able to force 2 turnovers and record 2 sacks. At number 9, we have the Buffalo Bills, who get the Washington football team. Now, they shut out Miami last week, looking dominant. They were able to force 3 turnovers, and they also recorded 6 sacks. I look for some of that momentum to be carried on. And now we're getting into that area, guys, where we're really taking risks with our defenses. I don't love many of these that are left. At number 10, we have the Giants against Atlanta. Now, we know Atlanta's offense has struggled, and so we're hoping that that comes to play in this game. It's still a risky one, but I do like the Giants to be able to produce just enough to make them worth a start this week. At 11, we have that Washington football team defense. They get Josh Allen, who has certainly been slow to start in the first couple weeks, so you think hopefully that continues. Now, Washington does have 6 sacks, which boosts their upside just a little bit. Coming in at number 12, and the final defense that I think should be started this week are the New Orleans Saints. They are on the road against New England, and after they looked absolutely fantastic in week 1, they fell back to earth in week 2. But I would say Mac Jones isn't scaring anyone, and the Saints were able to hold McCaffrey to just 3 yards a carry on the ground, and we know New England wants to pound the rock, so there may be a little bit of hope. The only real notable omissions that I have for you guys on defense for the week is going to be the Bucs and the Rams, who face each other, and I really think that becomes a shootout, and I don't feel comfortable with either of them. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me, for your support and your time. If you haven't yet, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. This is Relentless Press. We'll see you next time.